What would you do if a creature from legend knocked on your door, bleeding and desperate, in the middle of an Alaskan blizzard? Would you turn it away or invite it in? This is the story of Ethan Marlo, a man who lost everything to fire and found redemption in the most unexpected place. A story whispered by rangers for decades. A story about the night 3 impossible visitors changed one grieving soul forever. Deep in Alaska's Chugach Mountains, 1987. The wind screamed through the pines like a living thing, rattling the walls of Ethan's isolated cabin. He sat alone by the dying fire, staring at a scorched photograph on the mantel, all that remained of his wife and daughter. Then came the sound, heavy, deliberate, something collapsing against his door. When Ethan opened it, his lantern revealed the impossible, a massive figure slumped in the snow, fur matted with ice and blood, a Sasquatch, a mother. Behind her, 2 young ones huddled together, eyes wide with fear, not attacking, not threatening, just pleading. For a long moment, Ethan stood frozen. He could have slammed the door, could have reached for his rifle. Instead, he thought of his own daughter's last frightened breaths in the smoke. He thought of what it meant to be desperate, to need shelter, to need mercy. He stepped back and opened the door wider. The creatures moved slowly inside, the young ones dragging their injured mother across the threshold. Ethan didn't speak. Words felt wrong here. He simply cleared space by the hearth, laid out blankets, and set water to warm. They didn't destroy anything, didn't attack. They sat by the fire like lost children, watching the flames with wonder. The mother's breathing steadied. The young ones reached toward the warmth, then pulled back, learning. Ethan prepared what little food he had. Dried meat, stale bread, broth made from melted snow and lard. When he set it down, the creatures approached cautiously, sniffing, then eating with quiet gratitude. That night, as Ethan dozed in his chair, exhausted and uncertain, something remarkable happened. One of the young ones rose, took a blanket, and gently covered him. Not with aggression, with care. When morning light filtered through the frosted windows, Ethan found himself covered, warm, and 3 dark shapes still sleeping by his hearth, breathing, trusting. Home. Days passed. The storm lingered, but inside the cabin, something unexpected grew, understanding. The creatures learned Ethan's rhythms. He learned theirs. They shared space, warmth, silence. Then Ethan discovered the traps in the woods. Steel jaws hidden in the snow, chains fresh and oiled. Someone was hunting them. When pilot Mara flew in with supplies, she brought the name Ethan, dreaded. Glenn Harper, a hunter with a grudge, tracking what he called the mountain ghost. That evening, Glenn appeared at the cabin door. 3 deliberate knocks, like a question already answered. "I know you're hiding them," Glenn said, his eyes cold and certain. "They're dangerous, unnatural." Ethan stepped outside, blocking the door. "You have no business here." "I have every business. Things like that don't belong in our world." Behind the door, the mother rose. Her massive silhouette filled the threshold, backlit by firelight. She didn't growl or threaten. She simply stood there, present, powerful, alive. Glenn's hand moved toward his coat, but before he could draw his weapon, something stopped him. From the woodpile, a sharp metallic clack split the air. One of Glenn's traps, triggered, but empty. In the snow beside it, a massive handprint. 5 thick fingers pressed deliberately into the frost. "She disarmed it," Ethan said quietly. "She protected her young from your traps." Glenn stared at the print, his face draining of color. He'd come to kill a monster. Instead, he faced something far more disturbing. Intelligence, family, love. He backed away into the trees without another word, limping, broken. Inside, Ethan sat by the fire, blood seeping through a bandage on his arm from an earlier accident in the woods. The mother approached slowly, knelt beside him. From a woven pouch, she pulled dried moss and reindeer lichen, pressed it with snow, and applied it to his wound with impossible gentleness. Then her eyes lifted to the shelf above the hearth, the metal tin he hadn't touched in years. Ethan understood. He brought down the small wooden box inside, wrapped in an old scarf. His daughter's music box, scorched on one edge by the fire that took everything. He opened the lid. The delicate melody filled the cabin, a half-forgotten lullaby, thin and fragile, like memory itself. The young ones stopped moving. The mother tilted her head, listening. And then she hummed, not words, not quite melody, a low, resonant vibration that matched the notes beneath, like roots beneath a river. The music box played its broken song, and she answered it. Ethan's chest tightened. Tears came without warning, without shame. She had lost something too. He didn't know what, didn't need to. The melody wound down. Silence returned. The mother gently pushed the box back toward him. Not away, toward. Keep it. Remember. Not as pain, but as connection. Spring came quietly. The snow softened. Water whispered through the frozen creek. The air changed. One morning, Ethan woke to find the cabin empty. No footsteps, no creaks, just warmth left behind, and on the porch steps, a bundle, dried fireweed bound with foxtail grass, carefully arranged, deliberately placed. He walked to the tree line. 3 sets of tracks led into the forest. 1 large, 1 medium, 1 small, moving together, not fleeing, just going. He watched until the wind blurred the trail, then returned home. When Mara flew in days later, she brought news. Glenn had been found wandering, injured, changed. "He said you were right," she whispered. "Said they weren't monsters." Inside the cabin, a handprint remained pressed into the doorframe, still warm. Weeks later, rangers found Ethan in his cabin, lying peacefully in his cot. The music box rested on his chest, lid open. His face wore the trace of a smile. On the mantel, fresh fireweed, blossoms bright pink, stems glistening with morning dew. And at the edge of the clearing, 3 shapes stood in the trees, tall, still, watching. When the rangers looked again, they were gone, taken back by the forest that held them. Some stories don't ask to be believed. They ask to be felt. In a world that moves too fast, where everything must be explained and conquered, there's still room for mystery, for mercy, for the kind of connection that changes us, not through force, but through presence. Sometimes the most powerful act is compassion. Sometimes the deepest truths pass between those who never speak at all. This is the story of Ethan Marlo, a man who chose trust over fear, and found that grace lives in the most unexpected places.